So we got the parametric function from Leonard this morning. I got to put that up. I got two of them from him. We just got done with the International Board of the American Board of International Medicine, or whatever the hell it was there, area under the curve for mathematics, and you got inflation threats. Now, I almost read it off as infection threat, right? You know, this close at most, maybe. Realistically, you know, which one of these things should I hit right now? How Delta fixed 32 million jet engines? Well, you know, the court rejects deputies. Vidler testimony? Okay. And the 5 calls media comments on Obama. Alright, Jesus. And the monster. So I'm just going to go where it's sensible. Keep these things in mind, would you please?
My name is Amanda, and I smoked while
It
I was
had
pregnant.
natural,
This
and
is
it
the view I
had
had of my baby in the NICU.
a artificial
this.
version of money. It could use salmon or firewood or work, time, differentials. I still need to know, look, I'm not going to give somebody the same amount of pay if it takes them 3
when their
times
clothes
as
don't
long
fit
to
right.
split the
And
log.
the same goes
To
for their
split this
nighttime
wood for
underwear.
firewood.
That's why Goodnights has
Like,
new large
yeah,
and extra large
you
sizes
get it done,
to comfortably fit older
but I'm not
kids
going to
the way
give you
they
the same
should.
pay when the result is
Goodnights,
Delta
now in more sizes for
from
a comfy
somebody else
custom
cutting
fit.
it inside here. This would be that area under the
Welcome to
curve.
a lesson
And I'm going to form
on how
that
to
with
determine the
gravity.
area under a
That's going to be
curve
my
when
freedom
the
to
curve is
say
given
that's
by
what that pay
parametric
is.
equations.
And the free market
begin,
kind of takes care of
note
that.
the curve is given by the
This is
function
that
f
idea.
of x, and f of x is non-negative on the closed interval from a to b, then the area bounded by f of x and the x-axis is given by this definite integral, where the area equals the integral from a to b of f of x integrated with respect to x.
Remember how I said calculus
Now
is a
let's
bunch
assume
of these frames?
The same curve is given by
I'm going to go
the
just off of that
parametric
equation.
equations,
All right.
x equals
Wait, let's
x
go
of
back,
t
actually.
and y definite integral.
Okay. If this is the class, I could spend an entirety of a 45-minute class talking about what is the area of this classroom specifically. It has an X, Y, and Z. So anytime, I don't want you to leave the building. Now, obviously, when you're out in the real world trying to figure out, well, my stone mill shop or the hospital I'm sitting in waiting for the nurse to come in later on about, well, the integral of A or B at the top and A at the bottom, because here it's going to be 0 line on 0 line, about why B is at the top in the distance of how things work are going to be a force. That's a very specific force, and it's described X on the right-hand rule of how we pose derivatives at a value to correlate that to a force. That dollar or that time or that amount of product created is always going to be on this line. No matter what we do, no matter what station you cut that off to by terms, area, tread guy, thermaler, manager. I got to have management correlate to even indexes that have reciprocals. They might need to be adjusted, right? You know, let's say the earlier context of this information, actually, where I wanted to start was, right? Should have been something up in there. Yeah, is it? Alright, so yeah. Determine the area under a curve given by parametric equations. Well, the problem with teaching somebody this in school is that they don't generally have a limit for it. They don't really have a Bernoulli's for the example. And I'd say lead with COVID. Hell yeah, well, whatever. You know, Ebola, smallpox, look at this virus up here. You know, in the same way, that can come across and make a time on a cost differential that you guys might be missing. Something to pay attention to. That area, as long as they are congruent with one another, they are an integral of each other. So when x equals xt, you know, a value of where that equals x and y equals yt, inside here, the area of that is the integral. The distance between here and how that still might be the same number under a radian, right? And then I'm going to get f times x here. That's the force on that, because they're not really saying, oh, force times x. It's, well, when I understand that force, because all this works backwards by a derivative time, I'm saying, I got all the parts in algebra. I'm going to write out the equation 27 plus x3 is a times of that. But what if I just said 27 plus x? Simple matrix. 27 minus x. Well, I couldn't really tell you what that correlates into the real world, but I could Bernoulli's that on the tread line. You know what I mean? I could tread line that in the hospital. I could machine gun that in terms of an area where those things apply. But I couldn't tell you the need for it. It doesn't really say, well, terrorists in this one for the machine gun and AR-15 training range over here. Unless that training range and the Z function was really precise to how many bullets they get. And only in that universe would it ever apply that way. But that's fair for artificial gravity. That's fair for delta gravity. That's fair for an idle variable. Remember, because this is the machine in idle. This is still on, but not with the gas pedal being hammered or taking a corner where you might let off the pedal. Right? Some approximation of that integral inside there. It is integral that you let off the gas pedal while traveling around the corner. It is integral that you release the trigger here a little bit short of the service of that firing pin going out at some time, or you just running out of bullets being a firing pin inside here. I like to joke it out because, hey, you know, just because y dx, you know, you're going to be part of this. That regardless of the equation, you are going to be, you are G-O-I-N-G, and realistically, that area is where I would say, well, the derivative, or excuse me, the integral of doing a calculus on somebody like that is critical. It really is. It's critical theory for what goes on in here, because I keep coming up with issues that become critical. If I don't map those standards on this, I have too much approximation and margin inside here, which no matter what you do, you're not going to get rid of that. Some marketer out there right now is giving me the fucking business. It's like, look, you never had it. Never had it. And on the aspect of that thing, you would say that your adjustments on this would stop those things from happening, right? And they never did. So you got to quit that shit. It's actually still in there, and if you lived on that nobility for what it was in here, maybe what you do on the daily today would turn into the Nobel Peace Prize in physics, because you would be able to integrate this straight into your business.
X equals x of t and y equals y of t. Well, beginning with the integral that we know is equal to the area, we know f of x is equal to y, so these two integrals are the same. And then from
Trumpy,
here,
hand over your
we
tax.
can perform a change of variables using the parametric equation, where y is equal
we
to
got
y of
problems.
t, and
I can't be letting situations like that go from the top end like that, be taught at a secondary level, cause a chain reaction that forms nuclear snow every time a piece of paper hits the table.
From t sub 1 to t sub 2, where x of t sub 1 would be equal to a, and x of t sub 2.
Well, firstly, let's cross all this down just down to the area is equal to the integral of BA or AB. Now, I'm already backwards.
First, just like f of
x,
x must be
I can't have cicada inverted, hot and cold and hot. Really, I'm saying, oh, the battery on there was backwards. But I had to figure that out.
We must trace out the curve from left to right.
Right-hand rule, fascist gravity, Marxist by, that's going to cost you. It's going to cost you on training. The integration of,
because the curve is traced out from left to right.
If I curved that, and you had that math in there for the breadboard, and the battery or the power source, well, it's always on the hot, it's always on the cold, but it's on the negative for here. It'll work, but it'll work backwards. We use Ben Eater's number because you start with the wire to the power source on the left side, and they don't build breadboards the other way, but it's basically just a rail running down with some pins. Of course, those ones over here inside the breadboard, hot, cold, and then these ones are a condensed version where high and low, chips and switches, capacitors, resistors are integrations. They're a version of it that gets it away from the bits and bytes, because they will bits and bytes you. It's an autonomous way of dealing with the mathematics. And GPT-3 don't care. It just will sit there and blink that little LED at you or not. It'll stay on when it's supposed to blink. It'll blink like hell at you. Nothing.
T equals 0. The point on the curve would be the point -2, 1, this point here.
So, Tucker.
So this is the point -2, 1, which is the point when t equals 0.
Come at me, bro. Come
And
on.
now let's find the point when t equals 3. T equals
That's me
3,
and you
x of
teaming
3
up,
is 3
waiting for this
times 3
slippery
minus
ass
2.
kid to come in
So
and
x of 3 is
make
7.
it a problem.
And then y of 3
You are the problem, brother.
would be equal to 1/2 times 3
You're not
squared
putting anything
plus
anything
1. That would
once.
be
Because you would
9
have to make
halves
this
plus
math
1,
congruent. Is it
which is 11
possible?
halves,
Yes, but you're going
or
to need to get
5.5.
real creative about just, I'm going to throw you in the salt crew.
the
Let's go back to the
0.7,
beginning.
5.5
Genesis,
is point
this,
here.
I need to do this over what I do. Most commonly,
And this is the
remember,
point when
all
t equals
zeros,
3.
all ones. This is
So again, our goal is to
I1,
find the area under this curve
I1,
from
I2,
t equals 0
J1,
to
J2,
t equals
negative,
3,
I1, negative
which should be
J1,
this area here.
and
Notice how if we
that
did have
gives me
this
that
curve as a
area.
function of
That
x,
gives me
we
something
actually
that's
integrate
every
from x
time a
equals
rookie
negative
comes
2
in here, because that's
to
the
x equals
ladder.
7. But here, because
That's
we're
the
integrating
70
with respect to
or
t,
63
we integrate from
megaparsecs
0
to,
3.
now that I've been here for a while,
So
I'm
the
going to become an
area
operator or
is gonna be equal
slash
to the integral
a manager.
From 0 to 3 of
The
y of
dimensions
t,
on
which is
that
the
really have
quantity
more of a
1/2
spectrum inside of here.
t squared
Radio,
plus 1.
microwave,
And then we have times dx
visible
dt
light,
times
I'm going to skip
dt,
a couple here,
which remember is equal to
X-ray,
dx.
gamma,
Well, the derivative of x with
UV,
respect to
X-ray,
t would
gamma,
just be the derivative
so
of
on and
3t
so forth.
minus
Because
2, which
you
is
will
3.
hit
We
hydrogen
have 3
of some form, a
times
blue
dt.
supermassive,
Let's go and distribute
or
3.
a white
integral
dwarf,
from
black
0 to
hole.
3 of
And now it's a little bit different with the
3 halves
X-ray
t
emissions and
squared
gamma burst
plus
released from some of
3.
those on whether they're white holes or black holes inside of
The
here.
antiderivative would be
But
3
come on, you
halves
just can't have a
times t to
derivative
the
out there
third
with, oh, I got to
divided by 3
arbitrarily
plus
pack this
3t.
in there. Well, I would love, you would get the Nobel Prize in mathematics. This
Notice
is
how the
good.
3's here
But we
simplify
haven't
out.
done one thing where somebody's
So
supposed to
when t
follow
equals
this
3,
Little
have
Red
3 to
Riding
the
Hood
third
cat toy being a squeaker
divided
on a
by
red dot
2
reticle through the
plus
thing
3
with the big bad
times
whoop
3
Sherpa's Go Path, man. Come on,
minus
we gotta
t
have
is
something
0,
real
both
here.
terms would
Now
be
I'm saying
0.
that this is 6 years out, but I just had
Simplifying, we
no
have
offense, Leonard,
27
but I just had you
halves
out there today
plus
talking
9
about
and 9 over
parametric
1.
functions.
Common
Now that's a
denominator of
college
2.
level teacher that couldn't integrate
So
it.
we
Now,
have
I have to
27
know
halves
why.
plus 18 halves,
The zero
which
is
is
fine.
45
You would
halves,
do all this,
or
but then I would say
22.5.
in there, there's a
And
real
this area
science to
is
this.
specifically square
Every
units.
business has it. Every single one. Country store, lunch lady in
Now let's look at
a
a second
grocery
example.
store, a McDonald's worker.
We're asked to determine the
You know,
area of the
they're-
region bounded
you
by
know
the
it.
parametric curve and the x-axis. So we're given x of t equals the square root of t, and y of t equals 4t minus t squared. So the graph of the curve is shown here. And we need to be careful here.
So I need the big
It might
ones,
be
not the
tempting to
little
think
ones.
we're going to
You can
integrate
agree
from
with
t
me with
equals
this
0
on
to
this,
t
but I'd
equals
wind up
2,
taking out a mirror, and I'm
because
just
these are
not
the x
mirror. I'm not
values
trying
where
to
the
take you
curve
out,
intersects
but
the
I can understand how
x-axis.
you would be
Remember,
terrified of me.
we're going to be integrating with respect
Warden
to t,
in the jail, when I look at the
not
judges,
x.
like, you
So to
should
find
send me to
the
jail.
t
Why?
values
Because it's the
where this curve
best place
intersects
for
the
me.
x-axis.
Not
Remember,
because I'm
any
a
point
bad
on the
guy,
x-axis has
because
a
I
y
understand
coordinate of
this
0.
number. It has a Y
So to
plane
find
to
the
it. It has
t-values of the intercepts,
momentum
we
to
want
it.
to set
I'm
y
going to
of
go
t
in there and I'm
equals
going to
0,
redesign the system,
which
but
will give
first
us
I have
the
to look
limited
at
iteration
what people
with
are
respect
coming
to
into
t.
the prison. I have to do that
So
from
we're
the
gonna set y
jumpsuit
of t
because
equal
I
to
can't be
0,
compromised from the guard. Now, the guard and the
which means we
person is still
have
the same thing. We've seen people
0
fight the
equals
inmates, and I've seen people
4t
fight the guards. I've
minus
seen the
t
guards
squared.
fight a person
So
as much
solving by
as this
factoring,
person,
factor out t,
integral B to
we'll
A,
have put t times the quantity
as much as
4
that comes
minus
across
t.
in a situational
This
model
product
where
equals
I
0
might not have been
when
aware
t
of that
equals
calculus
0,
inside of there,
and
and
when
why
t
they were
equals
matched
4.
out like that, because we had to
So we'll
arrest
be
them
integrating from t equals
0 for the natural
2,
environment where they work and put them into a new environment,
4.
because it started to
These
range
are the
off on the
t-values
learning
where
curve
the
here
y coordinates would be
about
0.
how well you
And also
can
notice
get
how x of 0 is
momentum
equal to
that,
0.
or get
So
it
when
to
t
do
equals
something.
0,
Use some form of mathematic
this would be the point
telepathy,
on the
if you
curve
will.
at the origin.
I like to have some fun with
And
it.
then
Give
when
the
t
kid a little
equals
something.
4,
That's
x of 4 is
telepathy.
equal
Yeah,
to
that's
square
the
root of 4
Dominion right there, the
This would be
goddamn
the
devil.
point on the curve.
Somebody
So
coming
again,
in
this
here
is when
saying,
t
oh, at the
equals
board
0.
meeting, that's what it is. And I'm looking at that like
This
I'd
is
run
when
the
t
saws my whole entire
equals
life. And
4.
I'm going, excuse me?
So the
When
area
I
we're
got
looking
in there
for
and I had to
is
run
this
those
area
saw
here,
coefficients, here's the saw
by the curve
program. Here is an
and
area
x
under a
axis.
parametric curve
So the
program.
area
And
is going to be equal to the
3D,
integral from
1B
0
has
to
a Z
4
function inside
of
here.
y of
Pull
t,
into M2 whenever
which is
you'd
the
like.
quantity
Or M1,
4t
you pick a road.
minus t
Ho.
squared
And then we
times
get
the
inside
xt
here, and that's that
dt.
area. That's
Like I
that Good job. Oh, I figured that out. Yeah, A is this droid as it's made, not
x prime of
copper
t
areas for
equal
the
to
mining
1/2
rights
times
of
t
a
to the negative
location
1/2.
on the planet,
So here we're
you're
gonna
starting in
multiply
M2.
by
Here's the
1/2
computer as
t
it's
to
done.
the negative
The
1/2.
program that I would do
And we
that
have
isn't
t.
just one autonomous system.
Let's
It
go ahead
is
and find this product.
all of them.
So we'd have the integral from 0 to 4
And I have to
of
be able to do that. I have to be
times
able to say
1/2
inside
is
here
2, and then we
T0
have
to
t to the
T4,
first times t to the negative
all
1/2
the
is t to
areas in the
1/2.
positive positive. There's
Then we
Salty
have
Island.
minus
Here's all the positive
1/2
negative.
t to the
National
second
Guard,
times t to the negative
Army
1/2
Rifle,
is t to the
Navy,
3/2.
Air Force, whatever. Inside of here, the negative negative would
Let's go
obviously
ahead and
put
find the
that in
antiderivative.
kids,
We
not
have
necessarily
2
the
times
negative positive. Let's go back to
t to the 3
civilian
halves divided by
jobs,
3 halves,
MOSs
or
across the
2/3
board. Kids have
t to the 3
MOSs, but
halves. And then
they
minus
literally
1/2
hadn't done it
times
first,
t to
so
the
I'm
5
starting them
halves
from
divided by
the
5
lowest
halves
case negative
minus
negative.
1/2
I can't
times
trust them to
2/5
do it. There really
t to the 5
isn't.
halves.
I wish I could tell you it's that
Let's go
cut
ahead and
and dry,
simplify.
but they're gonna hit inside here. First
Here we
time I
have
ever
4/3
did the tread line, first
t
time
to
I
the 3
ever did a
halves.
rock,
So
it
be
felt
minus
good,
1/5.
but I knew by
to the
watching
5
somebody do it in front of me, my timeline needed to be up here.
Performing
And
substitution,
so definitely in
t
the
equals
civilian
4,
sector,
you have
I know I was
4/3
hitting young. I'm on the
times 4
derivative
to the
of
3 halves minus
a
1/5
two general problem,
4 to the
at
5
least.
halves.
I might not have known that there was other
And then when t
factors
is 0,
out there
both
of an
terms are
elite
0.
force in terms of timelines where they adjust
However,
for the
that it
training
comes out to
differentials. Doesn't really
64
exist,
15ths. Again, this
but
is
it
the
exists
story.
enough in terms of how we apply this, because otherwise parametric curves don't exist. Somebody
I think
gets
we'll go
pulling
ahead and
on the
stop here for
fates of
this
the
lesson.
strings of the
We'll
universe
look
here
at some
too
additional
much and it all
examples
collapses.
in the next few videos. I hope you
To
found
be
this helpful.
fair, college, how would you get them to integrate this standard? I just can't have them coming out, oh, well, the answer to number 7 is clearly pi 8 nu mu over r squared and a black hole.